Here on the Military Summary channel, this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about Kiev. We have additional details about the corruption, about the Kiev corruption. According to information we have, the Mindich corruption scandal could lead to Zelensky's resignation, according to the Spectator columnist Owen Matthew. Zelensky will inevitably face serious questions as his close political and business allies come under suspicion. A full-scale war between independent anti-corruption agencies and Zelensky's inner circle appears poised to break out, and the consequences are likely to be dire. The SBU is loyal to Zelensky and wields significant internal power thanks to its control over the judiciary and prisons. On the other hand, NABU and SAP enjoy strong political and finance support from European governments and the United States of America, as well as operational assistance from Western intelligence agencies. So the problem is that the Russians haven't bombed Ukraine and haven't attacked Ukraine energy facilities probably for a week already. So the last attack Russians carried out around 5, maybe 7 days ago. So obviously this time is enough probably to repair something or to improve something. But this is the picture that we can get this night from the city of Kiev. This is the city of Kiev and this is the Kiev's blackout. So as you can see, complete absence of any electricity across the capital of Ukraine. So, and this is probably the reason why the anti-corruption agencies began investigations against Zelensky's inner circle, because according to the number of money that were invested in this sphere, nothing like this should happen. But we see what we see. Anyway, let's wait and see what is going to be next. But one thing is clear, Zelensky will try to fix the situation. He will blame people, he will arrest people most likely, but as we discussed during the previous two videos, the most important people from the inner circle of Zelensky have already left Ukraine. One of them left to Israel, another one on the territory of Turkey in Istanbul. So we believe that nothing will change, at least for now. Now let's discuss the situation in the eastern part of Ukraine. Today we got a very worried report published by the Ukraine energy sector. Poltava Oblast has been disconnected from Ukraine's unified power grid for 5 days due to attacks, according to the regional power company. At around 5 a.m. on the morning of November 8th, due to fighting, a power outage occurred, resulting in the company losing its ability to receive electricity from the unified grid, the regional power company reports. The company officially declared force majeure and announced that fulfillment of electricity distribution contracts has been postponed until the damaged networks are restored and the grid is operational again. So this is a very warning bell for Ukraine, for Zelensky, because now we see that the entire energy system of Ukraine has begun collapsing and has begun cutting or splitting into several and independent parts. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground, and first let's talk about the Zaporizhzhia direction, where the Russians of the Group of Forces East continue their offensive operation. During the previous 12 hours, we received additional updates that clarifies the situation on the ground. According to information we have, according to neutral mappers and according to pro-Ukrainian sources, the armed force of the Russian Federation during the previous 12 hours managed to establish complete control over the settlements by the name of Ravnopoli and Yablukova. So this is how the map looked like yesterday on the 12th of November of 2025, and this is the situation by the morning of the 13th of November of 2025. We are waiting for additional clarification and confirmation from the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation. Maybe today, during the 30th of November, they will confirm this information, and then we will color this area completely in red color. Furthermore, right before we started making this video, several pro-Russian sources reported that as a result of offensive operation, the armed force of the Russian Federation managed to establish complete control over the settlement by the name of Danilovka. Furthermore, pro-Russian sources published the video, and we added this video right before we started making this video. So this sector and this part of the front line we will discuss during the next update, because we see that this is a very important and significant progress on the ground, because the Russians today, this morning managed to cut Air 85 road physically, which means that from now on the Russians will start moving further in the southern direction with the purpose to attack the city of Gulay-Polye. Now it's become clear that the battle for the city of Gulay-Polye has begun. Now let's move further and let's talk about the Dnipropetrovsk direction, because this is that the direction that we just discussed was the Zaporizhzhia direction, and this direction a bit further in the northeastern area is the Dnipropetrovsk direction. And according to information we have, the Russians intensified their offensive operation, their activities in this area. So this is the map, for example, by the end of the 11th of November of 2025, and according to different mappers, during the previous 12-24 hours, the Russians managed to improve their position significantly. The Russians are about to establish complete control and to capture the settlement of Aristopol, and this is basically a southern part of the settlement of Velika Mikhailovka. We have no doubts that the Russians will continue advancing further in the northern direction with the purpose to establish complete control over this settlement. Furthermore, this morning we received additional update about the situation to the east of the settlement of Gavrilovka. The pro-Russian sources and neutral mappers reported that Russians managed to improve their positions to the west of the settlement of Ivanovka and to capture this huge forest. Now it's clear that the Russians will continue advancing further, and now we believe that Russians will do everything they can with the purpose to establish complete control over the settlements of Gavrilovka and Velika Mikhailovka. With the connection with the settlement of Ivanovka and Novopavlovka, this can create a very powerful foothold before moving further in the northwestern direction towards the city by the name of Pavlograd. So we believe that currently we can say that today officially the Pavlograd direction has started its probably existence.
Meet Yuka Mini, your yard's new.
Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the area of the city of Mirnograd. According to information we have, the Russians managed to improve their positions once again along the perimeter of the city of Pokrovsk. The Russians improved their positions in the fields to the south of the settlement of Sergeyevka. Additional strongholds, additional tree lines were captured by Russians. This information was confirmed by pro-Ukrainian sources and by neutral mappers. As for the pro-Russian resources, they adjusted the map even more. They're saying that the Russians are about to cut physically the railway between the city of Pokrovsk and the settlement of Sergeyevka. So the Russians managed to get a strategically important part of the front line, and from this along this tree line, the Russians will be able to concentrate forces before moving further in the northern direction. Furthermore, the situation is becoming worse and worse for the armed forces of Ukraine on the territory of the Mirnograd agglomeration. So this is the map by the end of the 12th of November of 2025. If you remember, yesterday we saw this video when Russians basically were reducing this territory to ruins, and as a result of this attack, almost the entire micro-district or the entire block was completely reduced to ruins. And today we got report that Russians entered this territory. Furthermore, we'd like to remind you that right exactly from this area several days ago was reported that 25 Ukrainian soldiers surrendered. So maybe that's the fact that Ukrainians surrendered in this area allowed the Russians to improve their positions so significantly. So we see that the Russians are about to establish complete control over the south of Mirnograd, but the problem is that the situation in the eastern part of Mirnograd is also very complicated for the armed forces of Ukraine. This is the situation by the end of the 12th of November, and this is the situation by the beginning of the 30th of November. According to these changes, we can say that the Russians already control up to 25% of the city of Mirnograd, and the Ukrainians are about to fall back from this territory, but the problem is that there is nowhere to fall back. The only way to fall back is to surrender for the armed forces of Ukraine. Furthermore, the Russians are finishing the clearing operation in the northeastern part of the settlement of Pokrovsk. This video was published today by pro-Ukrainian sources of the 38th Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and here we can see how Ukrainians were attacking Russians across the city of Pokrovsk, and one of the episodes was located exactly at this point. Based on this video, we came to the conclusion that the Russians are about to finish the clearing situation of the northeastern part of the settlement, and we believe that in coming 2 weeks, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation will announce complete control over the city of Pokrovsk, I'm not sure about the city of Mirnograd, but the city of Pokrovsk will be announced. Furthermore, Ukrainian sources published the road that the Russians used to enter the city of Pokrovsk, and in this video we can see lots of vehicles that were destroyed as a result of clashes between Russians and Ukrainians. The Ukrainians are saying that all these vehicles belong to the Russian forces, but we believe that all these vehicles belongs both to the Russians and to Ukrainians. The clashes continue on the territory of the settlement of Rodinska. During the previous 12 hours, a video was published by pro-Ukrainian resources, and here we can see how Ukrainians were after withdrawing Russians in the central part of the city by the name of Rodinska. The video length is 1 minute and 27 seconds. There are lots of episodes, and one of the FP withdrawn attacks was geolocated exactly at the central part of the city. Based on this video, we came to the conclusion that either the Russians managed to restore control over the territory, or there is something like a salad or something like a pie. Some buildings under control of Russians, some buildings under control of the armed forces of Ukraine. So the clashes for the city of Rodinska continue. As for the Shakhovo pocket, during the previous 24 hours, the Russians managed to improve their positions and they managed to tighten the news around the Ukrainian positions. The neutral mappers reported that during the previous night, the Russians managed to secure completely this dense network of the fortifications. So from this perspective, we can say that the village of Shakhovo is already in cauldron. Ukrainians have no chances for evacuation, and the only way for them for evacuation and to escape this situation is the breakthrough, or is the deblocking operation that Ukrainians are currently trying to carry out from the west in the eastern direction. The Ukrainians are moving along this road between Nova Shakhovo and Shakhovo, and according to neutral mappers and pro-Ukrainian sources, during the previous 12 hours, the Ukrainians managed to recapture some positions along the road. So currently the distance between possible edge positions of the armed forces of Ukraine and the settlement of Shakhovo is already less than 2 kilometers. Ukrainians will continue offensive operation in this area with the purpose to unblock the contingent of the armed forces of Ukraine, and then the Ukrainians will be able to evacuate themselves. So the situation and the clashes in this area continue. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the northern directions. This morning, several very reliable pro-Russian resources who are very close to the group of forces north stated, and this statement was made once again also before we started making this video, just 5 minutes before, that the Russians, as a result of offensive operation, managed to establish complete control over the settlement by the name of Sinelnikova. We will adjust the map before the next video. We will discuss everything in details during the next update, and we will try to see what consequences the fall of Sinelnikova could bring to the armed forces of Ukraine. And that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds you to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.